I see these sewing machine cabinets a lot at thrift stores, and I usually leave them there, but this one was a little different. I liked the smooth, streamlined look and that rich walnut veneer. The machine looked pretty solid too, although I don't really know much about sewing machines. It came with a bunch of accessories, although I don't really know what they do. That rich walnut veneer is in pretty bad shape in some spots, so I'm going to have to work on that. And the finish is pretty far gone. So first thing I'll do is take off that old finish. The finish on this piece is shellac, so I could have removed it with some denatured alcohol, but instead I chose to scrape it off because it was nice and crispy and came off really easily with the scraper. It looks like the top is being held on with these clips. So I'm going to take those out and see if I can remove the top, and that'll make it a little easier to work with. This veneer piece on the front was in really bad shape and missing a lot of the veneer, so I decided just to remove it and put some new veneer on. But first I had to get off this trim piece. And then I could take the veneer off. A hot iron helped to melt the glue. And apparently I didn't have the microphone on during this part, so here's some veneer removal music instead. Just brought home my latest find. Just brought home my latest find. Just brought home my latest find. See how it goes. Just brought home my latest find. Just brought home my latest find. Just brought home my latest find. And I think this piece kind of looks a bit chunky. Think this piece kind of looks a bit chunky. Think this piece kind of looks a bit chunky. Chunky, 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 chunky. Just brought home my latest find. Just brought home my latest find. Just brought home my latest find. Want to try some oxalic acid. Want to try some oxalic. For the new piece of veneer, I'm using some walnut peel and stick veneer. So the bottom edge of this part that I just put the veneer on has a radius to it, so it's kind of curved, at least until about, I don't know, 5 inches before this end, the other end. So now I've got this excess bit of veneer hanging over, so I want to try to get that trimmed. And I'm going to try using a radiused bit to get as close as I can. Still not going to get it all probably, but see how that goes. So I've got some loose veneer here, and I want to glue that down before it gets any worse. And I'm going to use hide glue for this. Hide glue is really easy to clean up with just some warm water. So if any of the squeeze out gets on the rest of the veneer, I can wipe it off easily. Okay, so this piece of veneer also needs to be glued down. For small veneer repairs like this where it's coming loose, I'm just going to put some super glue in there. That should take care of that. Spray it with some accelerator to speed it up. I have another veneer chip here, and I've got a whole bunch of veneer scraps that I took off other parts of this piece. So I found a little piece of veneer from that scrap pile that I think is going to work. If I bring it up to like about there, it seems like it fits really well, at least over here. And then I'll probably cut it just a little bit past this point and glue it in. So I'm going to try to go through the veneer patch and then through the veneer through this section here. So right here. And that'll go in like that. And I think a little super glue should be just fine for this. That way I don't have to clamp it and wait for it to dry. Going to spray it with some accelerator. People sometimes ask why I'm spraying the accelerator outside and not in where the glue is. And I don't know, it just works this way for some reason. I don't know if it's the accelerator's maybe seeping into the little seam between the patch and the other piece or what, but it worked. Now I just have to trim it. That'll do. Not perfect, but it's fine, especially since it's at the bottom. No one's going to be on their hands and knees trying to find veneer patches down here. So now there's about probably 50 other ones to do. I've got another veneer patch to do right here and a little piece I'm going to use to fill it. It's a little bit oversized, which is good. I just need to open up this hole a little bit. I like it. The top of the cabinet has some stains. Here's a big black ring here, and there's some other stains on here. And the other parts on the top also have stains. So I'm going to try some oxalic acid, see if I can get these out. I I don't want to try and sand them out because the veneer is just too thin to do that. So this one already looks like it's lightening. There's one over here that's still pretty dark, and a few off camera that are kind of dark, but I'll leave it for a while. Okay, let's see how the oxalic acid did at getting the stains out. It's been about 2 or 3 days since I put it on. You don't need to wait that long, but that's just how long I've waited. And this is some alcohol. So I can see already the ring is mostly gone. There's a little bit left right here. These dark spots are still here, maybe a little bit lighter. Let's see. And these dark spots are still here. And some over here. And right there. Which doesn't really surprise me. I don't think these spots, they don't look like they're water stains, which is what oxalic acid is usually the best at removing, at least in my experience. Whereas this ring was probably a water stain. I'm going to sand it lightly with some 150. I don't expect that to really get much of this out, but I'll try that first and then see how it looks and take it from there. Alright, so yeah, I don't think the sanding did much of anything. I don't want to keep sanding it because this veneer is very thin. So otherwise, the top looks great. The color is really nice. These dark spots here, that's just the wood grain. It's supposed to look like that. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I'm going to try to mask the spots somehow. I'm going to think about it for a while. Alright, time to try and get this old drawer liner out. And this could either be the hardest part of the project or the easiest. I'm going to start by heating it up with a heat gun, see how that does. Well, that was easy. All right, it was easier than I thought it would be. So now I'm going to sand everything with some 150. I want to try and touch up some of these dark spots in the top. Some of them I'm just going to leave because they're not really that noticeable, but this dark one here is pretty noticeable. So I mixed up some colored shellac with some of these colors here into just some clear shellac and see if I can disguise it a little bit. All right, don't like that. Just wiped it off with a little alcohol. Let's try it again. Try to get just the dark spots. Okay, how does it look? Think it looks better or worse or not really noticeable? I think I'm going to leave it just like that. I think it's good. Okay, I've got a coat of shellac on the whole thing. And as you can see, this new piece of veneer on the front, it's not quite the same color as the rest of the piece. This is a new piece of walnut veneer, and it's kind of pale compared to the old walnut veneer. So I'm going to try some antique walnut gel stain on the new veneer. See if I can bring it closer to the rest of the piece. I'm not removing that much stain, just a little bit of the excess, because it looks pretty good just as it is right now. Here's one of the drawers. I think the drawers are a little bit lighter than the rest of the piece, but I don't know, I think it looks good. And now I can put it all back together. So I'm putting this all back together, and this cabinet has this arm that comes out that supports the other piece part of the top that opens up like a clamshell, I guess. And then it provides that big surface to work on. And this supports it. So how does this work? So there's a hole here, and there's a hole in this arm under here. You can't see it, but when you close it, the hole lines up with this hole. And then there's this piece here. It's like a pin and a spring. And spring goes in there, pin goes in there. Let's see, the hinge goes on like that, and that gets pressed down. And then, let's see, the other side of the hinge has another pin, but much shorter, and another spring that goes in here. So when you close the top, this presses this pin down, and I guess first you have to have this closed. So you lift the top up. At least I think this is how it works. You lift the top up and then you push that in so that the hole is lined up with this hole. And then when you close this hinge over and this pin presses that pin down, then it holds that arm in. And then when you open it up, let's see, will it work? Then it opens. So if that makes sense, kind of hard to explain, but just in case you've ever wondered how these things work. Works. So I'm trying to clean the machine up a little bit before I put it in. And I tried first wiping it with some water and a little bit of dish soap, but it didn't really do anything. And in some spots, it actually turned the finish a little bit white. So I'm going to try some Flitz polish instead, see how that goes. But I'm going to be careful around the decals because I don't want to polish them off. And actually, it looks like something already happened to the T right here in the. It looks like somebody drew in half of the letter. But it actually doesn't look too bad from a distance, at least. That seems to be working pretty well. It removed the white and it looks a little shinier, so just going to do that over the rest of the piece. I've got the instruction manual for the machine, and in here it has instructions on how to oil it. So I'm going to give it a few drops of oil in the appropriate spots. I've got my machine oil here, and then I'll turn it on, hopefully. Alright, so it shows all the spots where you're supposed to oil it. And let's see, one drop here. If I can get it in the hole. And one drop here. All right, let's see if it works. There's a switch here. Oh, gotta plug it in. All right, now let's see if it works. Where's the switch? Lights on. Let's try the pedal. Looks pretty good. I don't know anything about sewing, so I don't know what else to do to test it, but it moves. And here it is, all finished. Thanks for watching.